So we go from one female to another female, and basically, a lot of people would be mad that I did Emma before this person, but basically, the sympathy would have been easy on this character if she had actually been simple. People would like to sympathize with her, but basically, she was there to the bitter end, to trying to destroy Rick with her two male counterparts, and basically making trouble for Rick at every point. She has a point about domestic violence, and she has to deal with domestic violence through her mother's ex-boyfriends. But the fact of the matter is that using Rick as a scapegoat to beat up on him, basically to beat up on her mother's ex-boyfriends, that just doesn't seem right. But anyway, this is the complicated time of one Alex Nunez and her role in this thing. So you think obviously that this girl is trouble, and she kind of is. She was introduced into the show as kind of trouble, as part of the Caney Bandits, Jay's gang that basically took away Sean from Emma, if you will. The bitch thinks that she can fight, but basically she riled Emma up enough in the season finale of season 3 that basically Emma decided to finally stick up and basically finally get mad. She was supposed to deghost Snake's laptop and all that, and a lot of other computers, but Alex was using the computer. So basically, she's upset. But then, of course, she loses her, like, she sees Snake's will and testament and all that. And basically, she needs to know where Snake is, and nobody knows where he is. So basically, Alex pisses her off by basically saying the holier than thou philosophy. And she gets beaten down a tar. She gets the tar beating out of her. Emma gets separated. It's found out that Raj is actually having lunch and skipping himself for some reason. I don't know why. Like, they probably said it was about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I don't think Raj was out to catch, like, Ashley, Paige, and Spinner. I think he was just there for the sake of being there. Anyway, so Alex got her butt handed to her. That was funny as fuck. It may be a tough bitch, but Emma, in the right mood, is a tougher bitch. Anyhow, so Alex basically in season 4 was portrayed as someone who was ready to fight for the student elections and basically being president. And, she was not happy. She thinks that Marco's going to lose to her because she's a nonconformist. And basically that she will out Marco as being homosexual and people will be anti-gay. But whatever happens, Alex decides to keep it within herself. I think she learned that she couldn't be an evil person and all that. Now that it's hard to believe. But Alex is actually named vice president after Marco said that Alex had some good stuff in her speech and all that, and basically makes her vice president for certain operations. Basically, she and Marco in Mercy Street go to Raj and demand answers and all that. Alex is basically not too pleased that Raj is blowing her off, even though that Alex says that basically this isn't about the grades. This is about the fact that the cycles at the school and basically what he does to women. But Raj doesn't budge. She obviously has an anger towards him and all that. I mean, Raj is Raj. What the fuck do you expect? But regardless, I mean, like, Alex is basically in Paige's clique and all that, and basically in it to win it, to destroy Rick. And then basically she finds out that Rick is talking to Emma and giving her money and saying you can't buy forgiveness. Like, Emma looks at the check. Now, at first, I always thought that Emma was, like, when she looked at the check, she's just basically going to rip it up and out in Rick's face. But basically, when she sees the more than $500, she sees dollar signs, and that could help. Basically, Alex is not too pleased with Emma protecting Rick in a sense, and basically tells Emma off, saying that, I've had issues with my mom and her ex boyfriends. Do you have to lay with your mom while she cries herself to sleep? Do you have to bandage her up and her cuts and all that? I don't think so. Like, Alex has dealt with domestic violence in a witness point of view. Basically, her mother's boyfriends basically beat her up and all that for no good reason. I mean, that's sympathetic and all that. Like, Emma didn't know. We didn't know. But okay, you can sympathize with Alex. Alex basically tries to make trouble for Emma by stating to Paige that Emma might have a thing for Rick. Emma tries to prove herself to Paige's clique, but basically, after Alex is ready to beat the tar out of Rick, and I'll talk about that poignant scene later on. Emma stops her, and basically Alex says, "Your cause is over. No cause is worth this." And basically, Alex and the rest of them ignore Emma, and leave her on a lonely island. However, Alex is the heir for the long run. And basically, when they find the circle and the X's on their cars and all that, Alex basically said Rick Murray did it. Now, the question on my mind is, did she actually figure it was Rick, or did she purposely do that because, to get rid of Rick, they want to get Rick in trouble? Of course, they also have an issue because if they go to Radich for that, Radich is going to demand to know what Rick did for that. And basically, they would incriminate themselves, kind of. So basically, they set up a plan to get rid of Rick once and for all. Alex is, of course, perturbed when Jimmy actually decides to stand up for Rick and basically tells her and the guys that it's over. Rick isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And basically, they're upset. So Alex is the mastermind behind a Paint and Feathers prank. Spinner and Jay in the bathroom will convince Rick everything's okay, but basically secretly pull out Paint and Feathers and make sure no one's looking. Fortunately, no one else was in the bathroom with them. And then give it to Alex. Alex would use her vice president duties basically to go up through the door and basically drop it on Rick unnoticed. And that was amazing because, like, at first I thought the guys dropped the Paint and Feathers on Rick, but no, it was Alex because Alex got in with the key and all that. But I always thought that Alex had gave him the key and all that. So basically, yeah, Alex plays it off coolly and all that. And they got him. However, she feels upset over the Rick Murray situation and all that. Basically, she tells Jay that, why did I have to get involved? I should never have got involved. And Jay says, you're alive, aren't you? I should never got it. And then basically, they see Spinner spill his guts. So basically, Alex decides to go to the school on the Monday, like for reflection. Basically tells Jay that she needs to talk to somebody about her issues. But Jay basically says, just be careful who you talk to. Because obviously, Jay doesn't want people to rat on him. What a piece of shit. Sorry, but that's the way it is with me. So anyway, Rick aside. So Alex basically Alex, I don't know if she talks to the people or she basically gives in to Jay's thing and all that. But basically, Alex gets involved with the gonorrhea thing and is upset over Amy and Jay. So basically, the gonorrhea attack happens. She's out of Dracula and all that. She's actually on the drama club, and she basically tells Liberty and JT after they try to make a radical song, says, I'm all about rebellion, but not enough to get expelled. Basically, as vice president of student affairs, she would have some information, and probably she basically may have figured that Raj is starting to get a little bit of a tyrancy and all that. But of course, Raj's video will be coming up soon, so basically we'll talk about that. So yeah, so that tells us that. So basically, it's bits and pieces with Alex and all that. She's secretly keeping things quiet. She has to end up being with Paige as a co-worker at the movie theater, blah, blah, blah. And then, Spitter and Jay get expelled. However, they both leave Alex out of it. So basically, Alex has to live with the guilt that she took part in the Pain and Feathers prank, and basically, you know, she didn't think she probably felt guilty about having Rick, putting Rick in such a bad situation, and that she's keeping the secret, and she's actually taking over for Spinner and Jay in the Paige's click thing, and basically getting closer to Paige and having a relationship with Paige, which was so random. But basically put, Alex just couldn't keep herself clean. She tried to make herself a better girl and all that. But basically, the call of stripping to help her mother pay for bills and all that, which her mother uses that money to actually bail her boyfriend out of jail instead of keeping the heat on and all that. And so Alex decides to go to Paige. And basically, Paige, puts Alex such a bad pedestal and all that. Like, Paige has her own issues and all that. And like, with Alex and all that. But Alex ends up moving somewhere in Toronto. Like, I don't know where, Scarborough or Etobicoke, but basically, yeah, she is having her family issues. And basically, she had a bad ending. Poor Alex, I feel for her in that sense. But the question on everyone's lips is she a villain? Yes, she is. For the simple fact that, she was one of the main players to the bitter end to deal with Rick and all that. After Rick's death, from the time Rick came back in season 4 to his death and all that, she was always against him. She had no sympathy for Rick whatsoever, and no sympathy for anybody who felt sympathy for Rick, i.e. Emma. Out of 10, I would give her a villainy mark of 9.25. I wouldn't put her at 10 because, she wasn't the complete villain. Yes, she did the Pain and Feathers to pour it on Rick. And yes, she got away scot-free because Spinner and Jay were thankful of her. But she's a villain for the one thing, retribution and all that. I'll talk about retribution more on Rick's video, but basically retribution also played a big part in this video too. Like in this timeline too. As I said, she admitted in season 4 in Mercy Street, Alex admitted that she has to deal with domestic violence firsthand as her mother has explosive ex-boyfriends. They have to live in shelters. She has to basically ice down her mother's bruises and basically hear her cry herself to sleep. That would make Alex very sympathetic. And honestly, Alex basically wants revenge for those guys who wronged her mother. There's nothing wrong with that. But basically, she puts Rick as the poster boy for her aggression towards those guys. Alex could have just found one of her mom's ex-boyfriends and beat the tar out of him and basically, make him pay and basically, get some kind of revenge and all that. But no, she just had to use Rick as a punching bag for her mother's ex-boyfriends. I don't know how many the numbers were, probably 3 to 4 by my guess. But basically, Alex basically wanted to beat the shit out of Rick. And basically, as Alex was a representation of domestic violence and all that. Although, to be fair, Rick didn't mean to hurt Terry. Rick was just rage. But, people who do domestic violence are rageaholics. But the fact of the matter is, Alex had the right idea with the cause and all that. She should have put more emphasis on it. She did tell Emma, and Emma didn't know. Nobody knew. I mean, if Emma knew, then basically Emma might have been sympathetic. But the fact of the matter is, she used her power of being in a bad position with domestic violence to try to screw over Rick and all that. Alex should have just basically blasted Rick, talked to Rick, and said that, I'm a victim of domestic violence. How dare you come into our school and all that. I mean, she was angry that Raj did nothing about it. Lots of people were mad that Raj refused to do much about the situation. And I get her anger and all that. She should have pushed Raj hard enough. But I think Raj would have pushed back and all that. I mean, the Pain and Feathers and all that. that's the one thing that gets me weird is that nobody, Raditch or even Hatzalakos, didn't like nobody figured how the painted feathers happened. Only Spinner and Jay know about Alex's using her privileges to get to a certain door and putting in the painted feather, dropping it down on him and all that. Who nobody looked up. Nobody looked up to find out like a flash of clothing or a flash of hands or something like that. Because then that would have been a massive investigation and Alex would have been caught or basically accused of it. The school didn't like go on the point that basically is like, how did the person paint and feather Rick? Like, what vantage point and all that? They didn't do their just desserts with investigation and all that. The police should have done investigation. And as I said, Raditch and Hatzalakos didn't do their jobs. But what else is new? As is, I mean, Alex kept it quiet. I think she wanted to confess. I think she was like Spinner. She wanted to confess, but basically she was basically being bullied by Jay and all that. I mean, Alex should have just after the gonorrhea incident with Jay, she should have just basically splattered on Jay, spilled the beans on Jay, and say that Jay's a bad person and all that. And Jay would have got his just desserts. I mean, was she telling Spinner? Probably, probably not. I don't know. I don't think she really had anything hatred towards Spinner because Spinner and all that. But she obviously found out that Jay and Spin are expelled, but they never said Alex. Now there is a reason why Alex was not mentioned by the boys. Spinner, I think, figured that Alex had too much to lose and all that, and didn't. And after all, I mean, Alex didn't know about the fact that Jay and Spinner convinced Rick in the bathroom that Jimmy did it until it came out that way. But basically, Spinner knew that, the whole thing got bad when they named Jimmy as a culprit and Jimmy got shot at and all that. Like, when Spinner was bragging to Jimmy, he never said the word Alex. Yeah, he never said Alex. He never blamed Alex for anything. And Jay, I think, didn't want to blame Alex because Jay may have had a hard on for Alex. And and Alex decides to go towards Paige and all that. I think there was something going on in the movie theater or being in Paige's clique that basically made Paige and Alex, click. Like Alex deserved a better fate than what she got herself into. But basically she let herself become victimized. And I think for sure that she basically punished herself hard enough. Basically, I think her failures after season 4 were mostly her trying to self-sabotage after the fact that she ruined herself. She ruined someone's life. I think that Alex hated on herself. And basically, she wanted to do better. And she felt terrible. But, she self-punished herself. She should have went to the authorities. Heck, maybe Hatzalakos cuts her some slack or something like that because she's a woman and all that. And Hatzalakos understands. I think she would have. I think Hatzalakos would have given a break towards Alex. But Alex didn't let herself do it. Alex screwed herself over. End of story. Anyway, thanks for watching this video and have yourself a good day.